Is there a reason?
I'm Steven.
And I am Danielle.
And we are
turning two into one.
This is Work on Me
Wednesday.
W. It's Wednesday.
Oh, is that what that was? I thought it was 3.
It's Wednesday.
Okay.
And so, it's going to work on you.
Right.
Don't be concerned about the other person. Work on you.
I got my own challenges.
Exactly.
I can't
work on
figure out what's going on with Steven. I can't. You know me. I need the Lord to help me.
See, I got my bomb squad.
Woohoo! Man of valor.
Right there.
Bomb squad. He the bomb.
Much love to the bomb squad. 6 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about, drum roll please,
declaring the end from the beginning.
Exactly.
Declaring the end from the beginning.
Got a short story for you.
Oh, boy.
When I was I used to work at an automotive company, and we used to build trucks.
Uh-huh.
And so the line I worked on was the engine line. So what would come across would be a frame, right? And then inside the frame, they would put, they would put the engine in the frame, and they would put tires on it and everything else. But all along the process, although it didn't look like a truck, they called it a truck.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, put the engine in the truck. They would say, put the brake cables on the truck, put the tires on the truck. When really it was like a skeleton, it was like a shell. It wasn't even a truck. It didn't have doors, didn't have windows, it didn't have a truck bed, it didn't have any of that stuff. No air conditioning, none of that. It had nothing on it that made you think that it was a truck.
Right.
But they called it a truck in anticipation of if the process continues and if we continue to do what we're supposed to do, it will be a truck.
It's good.
And I need you to reverence it, not based on what it is, but I need you to reverence it based on what it will be.
Woo. That's good. That's good.
So, declaring the end from the beginning.
Yep.
Is talking about you saying what you want it to be, putting things in place so that it can be, and then making sure that the process continues to move forward so that it one day will be.
Right. And I think we came up with this topic. We were talking earlier this week, I believe it was Monday, maybe even Sunday, about our children and how we don't have a lot of time for them to be children very much longer. And so we started talking about the things that we had put into them to make them successful adults. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about what they still needed in order for them to be successful adults. So we started talking about what we foresaw for them in the future and what they would need in order to be successful. And so we're tweaking some things at this point. We're adding some things, we're taking some things away, but in order for us to do that, we have to see the end at the very beginning. So we have to think about, even for you that may have children, and if they're younger, is really never too early to start. But if your child has a predisposition to a certain thing, if you see them as a builder or a sculptor, as our daughter is an artist, she displayed that very early on. So what we started doing was we started putting her into classes and things that would cultivate that gift. I think that helps your child in the long run. So we actually saw in the very beginning her ending. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we got on this particular subject pertaining to the children, but that's what God has called for us to do. Our scripture reference is one of the scriptures that we found was Isaiah 46:10, which says that God actually declared the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, "My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure." And so God has already told us that and if we're created in his image and in his likeness, then we should be doing those things that he does in order to get the results that he would have for us to have. And so we wanted to kind of bring that out today on Working on Me Wednesday, because we don't have a lot of time.
No.
We don't have a lot of time with our kids. It was like just yesterday. It seems like they were born.
Yeah.
And CB just turned 17, and Daniel's 15, and we thought
we had a lot of time,
and we don't.
And we see that we don't have a lot of time,
and we don't. And so we're just going back to foundation, what God would have for us to do with them. And so it's real basic.
Yeah, how that would look in a on a personal level, right? Because we're talking about Work on Me Wednesday.
Right.
How that would look is that you would say to yourself, okay, well, I want to lose 20 pounds.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool. How does that look? How would you look 20 pounds lighter? Maybe even you have a picture or an ideal of what you want to look like, right? Now, I would be careful about, grafting yourself after someone else, in its entirety. What you would really want to do is aim at having good habits.
Right.
And having consistency and having good regimens.
Right.
Okay? Rather than say to yourself, I want to look like
Angie
Beyonce.
B.
Yeah, Beyonce or something.
Beyonce.
Angie B. Oh, Angie. Oh, she got some guns. Angela Bassett got some guns.
Yeah.
So rather than say that, you might say to yourself, you know what? I want to work out more often.
Right.
I want to cut back on eating all these sweets. I want to exercise. And so then what you do is you put that stuff in place, and then you aim at a goal, and you say, okay, this is my goal, and what is that? And you work that back and say, okay,
what
because
do you
here,
need to do?
What I need to do. The scripture says that he considers the end at the beginning,
right.
Which means that he sees what he wants it to look like,
right,
and then puts the process in place so that it looks like that.
Which was so good when you said that, even with your example about the truck and the company, they called that a truck. They called those things that be not.
As though they were.
And so a lot
they're
of
not
times,
even spiritual.
right.
They don't believe.
But hey, guess what? It works for everybody.
It's a principle.
It's a principle.
Yeah, it's a principle.
It works for anybody, anywhere, anytime. So we have to actually also call those things that be not as though they were. And we have to make sure that we're calling what we want to see, because what's going to actually happen is whatever you're calling the thing is what's going to manifest. And so if you're calling your husband or your wife
Bonehead,
right,
Bobo,
yeah. I don't know that was somebody's name, but anyway, if you're calling them those things, then that's what's going to manifest. If you're speaking to the king in your husband,
rather than the fool,
then you'll present yourself with the king. So we have to remember that that's what God has called for us to do, is to do that. So I have this manifested here. I'm always a visual learner. Whenever I teach with the children at school,
our brownies never look like that. Never.
This is the end product, though. But they have careful directions on the back of the box as to what you have to do in order to get this product. And so, as visual, for those of you that are visual learners, in order for you to get this particular brownie, you're going to have to add 3 tablespoons of water, a half a cup of vegetable oil, and 2 eggs. You're going to have to make sure that you have the right size pan and the right temperature. So you will get this end product.
The closest ours get is ours are brown.
Well, the problem with what you do is that somebody doesn't turn the timer on.
That's it.
And so here's the thing. I don't make these. That's y'all. But
anyway, off in the box.
That's not my... Okay, so anyway... From the very beginning, you have to know what you need to do in order to have the desired result.
And I'm going to tell you something. Something that's interesting about that picture is that the picture is attractive.
Yeah.
It's enticing to you, which makes you want to buy into it, buy it.
Right.
And then it also makes you want to follow the process. See, when you have a vision of what you want it to look like, whenever you run into difficult problems, you should look back at that vision.
Yeah,
and that vision should encourage you to do what you have to do to make it look like that.
Right, to get to the end process.
The end process.
So even if we were talking about losing weight, if you have a lot of people put up pictures of themselves at a former weight, at least on the refrigerator, so that they can keep in mind this is the goal.
This is what I want to get to.
And if you want to be whatever, if you have a business plan or something that you want to attain, you can put a picture of that so that you can keep in mind what it is that you're working so hard to do.
Excuse me.
Like we said, we don't have a lot of time with our children. We go back to that because that was really what brought this whole thing up. And if any of you have children, you realize that you don't have a lot of time.
And you don't have a lot of time with anybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See, my goal is to be the best husband I can be right now.
Yeah, in the here and now.
I'm not trying to be the best husband, next week. I mean, granted, it's a process, and we are working on the process.
Right.
But my goal is that today I'm going to actively work at being the best that I can be, so that tomorrow I can move to the next level. Tomorrow I can be better. I can be greater. But that means that today I'm using my vision of tomorrow to guide my actions today. So then your actions today should be guided by where you want to be at tomorrow. Don't wait until tomorrow to try and do what you have to do, because by that time it's probably going to be too late.
And tomorrow is our today.
Exactly.
Right.
You're building your tomorrow today.
Right.
You can write that down. You're building your tomorrow with the actions of today.
Right.
Jesus says in Luke 14, says that who builds a house without first counting up the costs? Mm-hmm. So before you even build it, you should be looking at what it's going to cost you, what you want it to look like. Do you want it to be on the beach? You want it to be on rocky ground? Whatever. Whatever you want
I'll
it to
take
be.
The beach and sun.
You should
snow.
You should be looking at that, and you should be saying, okay, this is where I want to end up, and this is what I need to do to end up there. And on a personal note, this is where I want my family to be. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of man I want to be. This is the kind of woman I want to be.
Good.
And these are the kinds of things that should guide your actions. If you want to be an honest person, then you do honest things. You always act in an honest manner. Tell the truth, even if it hurts. You're going to suffer by telling the truth. That's just the way life is.
Right.
All good is going to be attacked. So, but if you want to be a person that can be trusted, and that's the end thing that you were aiming at, then that means that you're going to have to tell the truth. Come, hell or high water, come difficult times or come good times. But that is that building it before I build it.
Right.
Building it in here, and then all of my actions lining up with it. And then in the end, I'll have that finished product.
Absolutely. All
right. Are we done?
That's it.
I think we're done. I hope you got something out of today. If you did, shoot us something, a comment or something like
Declaring
that.
If you enjoyed it, from the beginning.
Declaring the end from the beginning. That's what we should be doing in our daily lives. Mm-hmm. What do you want to look like? When you get up in the morning, you don't say, I'm going to just put anything on. No, you have an image in your mind of what you want to look like. Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can apply that same principle to our life and to the lives of those around us. And hopefully, in a few years, it will begin to look like what we've imagined it. But even more importantly, it begin to look like the way God imagined it.
Right.
All right?
All righty.
So, remember, never give up.
Never give in.
And never let go.
Okay.
Bye-bye.